Is there a danger in becoming a therapist yourself, that you start to maybe overanalyze yourself as well?
The people anybody that becomes a therapist has already been doing that, and they're already kind of messed up. Nobody becomes a counselor that's not messed up themselves. And some of them are really good at realizing that and working through their own stuff, so they're not messing other people up too, you know, and some of them aren't. That's kind of a hard thing to do sometimes, but now you're already doing it. Counselors already do that. They think too much, they analyze too much, and you know, the good ones are able to slow that down as they get older. But they say there's an English saying that the best place to hide a tree is in the forest. You know, so that anybody who works in that field is kind of crazy himself.
Well, I assume then that this way of looking at yourself and being self-reflective then also, on the flip side, helps you when it comes to music,
when writing. Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's it's the same process. It has the same effect. The process is a little bit different, but you end up at the same place. You write a song because you're confused about something, or you're emoting more strongly than you can handle just by thinking about it or something, whatever. And the end result is kind of the same, where you're regurgitating it, you're getting it out, and then you can examine it from an external place. You know, the way therapy works, it's not magic. It's just that I sit here and I tell you all these things, and you're not a genius who knows how to fix my life. You're a mirror, you know, who can reflect these things and maybe help me understand them in just a little bit different ways. But essentially, it's just the fact that I'm getting it out of myself and I'm able to hear it from a different perspective. And that's what the writing is too. So I'm singing a song and I get to look in someone's face and seeing what it's doing, or I get to hear them tell me about it. And they say, even a good friend of mine, he'll say like, man, this song really made me think of my dad and this one thing that happened. I'm like, that's crazy, I never thought of that. That's not what it's about. But now I can like kind of bring that new meaning into the song. So I love it. It's this constantly, always moving sort of machine. And you're just trying to come to some sort of understanding about yourself and other people. Same thing as therapy.
Well, is it as you say, then a reciprocal relationship where a song means something to you, you hear somebody else give it a certain meaning, and then you find that meaning for yourself as well? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, the meaning I don't like explaining songs really specifically. I think it's fine, to give you a general idea, but when people want like this line by line, like, well, no, but what does it mean though? Well, no, what does it mean to you, bro? That's what matters. And I'm not trying to be really artistic about it either. This is how art works. Like, if you look at a Van Gogh painting, I don't think it's really necessarily. It's not about a puzzle trying to figure out what he was feeling. It's like, how does it make you feel? What are you experiencing when you look at it? And that's what good music should be too. It's not punching you in the face and saying that you're supposed to get this message from my song. It's just opening up something and then letting you kind of work it out yourself. That's what the good stuff does. I don't know if mine does that, but that's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to do.
Well, was there? You practiced as a therapist for a couple of years. Was there a specific moment when music came to call, so to say?
Yeah, it's when I fucked up my marriage and I had to get divorced, and I had no business being a therapist, and the universe was kind of like sort of moved me this way, and I had some really good opportunities come through, and honestly, it was like, it was a time that I needed to sort of be alone and to process the really bad choices that I had made the last 10 years in my life. And it was great for that. I would get in a car and I would drive for 10 hours a day, and I'd play music, I would meet new people, and it was a really kind of, you know, cleansing thing. And it was plenty of time to think about my mistakes, and in a good way, you know, like in a good way, and to get really, to get affected by what I had done to people. So, yeah, and I'm in a much better place now with it, obviously, but I'm happy that it happened that way. It was good. So music was a really kind of corrective force, you know, in my life too.
But you're very honest in your lyrics, painfully honest, some would say.
Sure.
Was it, especially at first, difficult to bare your soul in this way?
No, man, because it was the same thing that I've been doing my whole life and in my work as a therapist. It was sitting in a room and talking about the really dark shit that most people are uncomfortable talking about. And that's what I do with the writing. It's the exact same. And when I've done therapy for myself, you know, as the patient, you know, same thing. Instead of writing it or playing it, I'm just talking it, but it's the same thing. So I've always seen those two things as being really interconnected, and you know, and that's why some people really don't like my music, because they don't like therapy, and they don't see any point in talking about this stuff. Like, why don't you just move on? You know, move on, take a pill, just get on with your life. Don't worry about that old stuff, you know. But that's not me. I don't do that. So, and that's okay. It's not for everybody.
It might be a silly question then, but why do you think it's important to talk about the elephant in the room?
That's a super great. It's a very good question. Because he who forgets history is doomed to repeat it. It's as simple as that, man. There's an old idea from psychoanalysis, from, you know, Freud and Jung and those guys, that it's called symptom substitution, sublimation. It's this idea that even if you're able to repress one symptom, you know, let's say you're an alcoholic or something like that, and you're able to totally repress your alcoholism. You've been sober for 10 years, you know, but you just so happen to be the person that you work 20 hours a day, and you haven't seen your kid in a month, and your wife doesn't know who you are anymore. You know, are you changed? Are you better? Oh no, you've just actually moved into another whole addiction. You're not changed at all. You know, you're still just as sick as you were 10 years ago. So, I think unless you get to the point, unless you actually deal with the problem, you're going to keep going in different cycles. It might look a little bit different. It might not be as obvious. You might not have a needle sticking out of your arm. But no less, you're not better. That's what I think. I've seen that myself, man. Until I've dealt with some of the stuff in the past, I wasn't happy. You know, I wasn't content. So, and I'm at a point now where I'm a lot more at peace than I was a long time ago.